The World Cup has a long, storied, and very well-known history. Most football fans know lots of World Cup tales from before they were born, from Pelé's 3 triumphs to Dutch total football and Maradona's handball. The history of the European Championship, in comparison, feels somewhat less famous. Most know about Antonin Panenka's chipped penalty and Marco van Basten's volley, but many triumphs from the formative years of the competition seem somewhat unfamiliar, even to keen football observers. The 1960 European Championship was almost unrecognizable from the modern tournament. France were the only Western European country in the Final Four, alongside Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, and the eventual winners, the Soviet Union. Only one of the 4 exists in the same form today. The Soviet side that beat Yugoslavia in the final included 3 players from present-day Georgia but was largely dominated by footballers from in and around Moscow. As Olympic champions from the 1956 Games in Melbourne, they came into the tournament with a good reputation and featured several of the most revered players in Europe, particularly goalkeeper Lev Yashin. In the quarter-finals, Spain, who were under Francoist rule, refused to travel to the Soviet Union for political reasons. After a proposal to play the tie over one leg at a neutral venue were rejected by the Soviets, Spain were disqualified. Accordingly, 3 of the final 4 teams were from communist countries: the USSR, Czechoslovakia, and SFR Yugoslavia, to go with hosts France. In the semifinals, the Soviets made easy work of the Czechoslovaks in Marseille, beating them 3-0. The other match saw a 9-goal thriller as Yugoslavia came on top 5, for after coming back from a 2-goal deficit twice, Czechoslovakia beat the demoralized French 2-0 for third place. In the final, Yugoslavia scored first, but the Soviet Union, led by legendary goalkeeper Lev Yashin, equalized in the 49th minute. After 90 minutes the score was 1-1, and Viktor Ponedeljnik scored with 7 minutes left in extra time to give the Soviets the inaugural European Championship. And that was the beginning of the first European Football Championship, held in France in 1960. This championship laid the foundation for one of the most prestigious tournaments in the world of football, a tournament that today gathers millions of fans across Europe and the world. We hope you enjoyed this journey through time and learned something new about the early days of European football.
The qualification rounds for the 1964 European Nations Cup began in 1962, with 29 national teams vying for a spot in the final tournament. The qualification was structured as a series of knockout rounds, where teams played home and away legs. The top 4 teams emerged from these intense and competitive matches to earn their places in the final tournament hosted by Spain. The tournament was a knockout competition. 29 teams entered. The Soviet Union, Austria and Luxembourg received byes to the round of 16. The teams played home and away matches until the semi-finals. The final 4 teams would move on to the final tournament, whose host was selected after the teams became known. Luxembourg proved to be the giant killers of the qualifying rounds. They beat the Netherlands 3-2 on aggregate, and then drew with Denmark 3-2, before losing the replay 1-0. Denmark thus became the most surprising of the qualifiers for the final tournament, joining the Soviet Union, Spain, and Hungary. In the semi-finals, the Soviet Union defeated the Danes 3-0 in Barcelona, and Spain beat Hungary 2-1 in extra time in Madrid, the winning goal being scored by Amancio. This set up a showdown between Spain and the Soviet Union in the final, only 4 years after Spain had been disqualified for refusing to travel to Moscow to play the Soviet Union. On this occasion, and with the Championship of Europe on the line, General Franco led his team play the Soviets. In front of more than 79,000 people, including Franco himself, at the Santiago Bernabéu in Madrid, the hosts won 2-1 after a late goal from Marcelino. The best players in the tournament were Lev Yashin, Luis Suarez, Ferenc Beni, Deso Novak and Chis Pereda.
Today we will see about the history of the European Championship from 1968, held in Italy. The 1968 UEFA European Football Championship final tournament was held in Italy. This was the 3rd UEFA European Championship, an event held every 4 years and organized by UEFA. The final tournament took place between the 5th and the 10th of June 1968. It was in this year that the tournament changed its name from the European Nations Cup to the European Championship. The stadiums where the matches were played were Stadio Olimpico, home of Roma football players. Then São Paulo, FC Napoli Stadium and Comunale Stadium, home of Fiorentina football players. For countries played in the final tournament, which consisted of the semi-finals, a third-place playoff, and the final. The host nation for the finals was selected from the 4 qualified nations. In all matches but the final, extra time and a coin toss were used to decide the winner if necessary. If the final remained level after extra time, a replay would be used to determine the winner. Semi-finals. Italy vs Soviet Union, the match ended 0-0 after extra time. Italy advanced to the final on a coin toss. Yugoslavia vs England, Yugoslavia won 1-0. Third place match. England defeated the Soviet Union 2-0. Final. The final match between Italy and Yugoslavia ended 1-1 after extra time. A replay was held 2 days later, in which Italy won 2-0. Key players. Italy, notable players included Dino Zoff, Jacinto Facchetti, and Luigi Riva. Yugoslavia, key players were Dragan Zajic, who was one of the standout performers of the tournament. England, Bobby Moore. The 1968 UEFA European Football Championship marked a significant moment in European football history, showcasing emerging football talents and setting the stage for future tournaments.
Welcome to the ultimate football experience. Whether you're a die-hard fan or new to the beautiful game, this channel is your go-to destination for all things football. From jaw-dropping goals to incredible saves, from legendary moments to the rising stars of tomorrow, we've got it all covered. The 1972 UEFA European Football Championship final tournament was held in Belgium. This was the 4th UEFA European Championship, held every 4 years and endorsed by UEFA. The final tournament took place between the 14th and the 18th of June 1972. The hosts were only announced after the qualifying round, which meant all teams had to participate in the qualification process for the final stage. Belgium was chosen among 3 candidates. The other bids came from England and Italy, whose teams did not reach the semi-finals. The qualifying round was played throughout 1970 and 1971, and 1972. There were 8 qualifying groups of 4 teams each, with matches played on a home and away basis. The group winners qualified for the quarter-finals, played in 2 legs, home and away.
The winners of the quarter-finals went through to the final tournament. The stadiums where the matches were played are Heysel Stadium, Stade Émile Verzay, Stade Maurice de Frassen. West Germany won the tournament, beating the Soviet Union 3-0 in the final, with goals coming from Gerd Müller and Herbert Wimmer at the Heysel Stadium in Brussels. We hope you enjoyed this journey through time and learned something new about the early days of European football.
From stunning goals to spectacular saves, from iconic moments to the stars of the future, we've got it all covered. Join us and immerse yourself in the excitement of the world's most popular sport. The 1976 UEFA European Football Championship was held in Yugoslavia from June 16 to 20. This 5th edition of the UEFA European Championship, endorsed by UEFA and held every 4 years, featured a unique format with only 4 countries participating in the final tournament. The competition included the semi-finals, a third-place playoff, and the final. It was the last tournament to use this format, as the number of teams was expanded to 8 in the subsequent championship. Remarkably, all 4 matches in the final tournament were decided after extra time, either by goals scored or penalties. This was also the last tournament where the host nation had to qualify for the final stage. Czechoslovakia emerged victorious, defeating the defending champions West Germany in the final. The match ended in a 2-2 draw after extra time, leading to a penalty shootout. Antonín Panenka became famous for his iconic chipped penalty, which secured the shootout victory and Czechoslovakia's only European Championship title. Beckenbauer became captain of the national side in 1971. Frank Beckenbauer was selected in the team of the tournament. Zajic is widely considered to be one of the best footballers to emerge from the former Yugoslavia, and one of the greatest left-wingers of all time. Zajic was known for his crosses, passes, dribbling with great pace, natural technique, and his left-footed free kicks. Panenka came to international prominence playing for Czechoslovakia at UEFA Euro 1976, where Czechoslovakia reached the final, facing West Germany. The sheer cheek of the goal led a watching French journalist to dub Panenka a poet. His winning kick is one of the most famous ever, making Panenka's name synonymous with that particular style of penalty kick. Today, we will explore the history of the European Championship, starting with the 1980 tournament held in Italy. In 1980, the UEFA Euro returned to Italy with a revamped tournament responding to calls for more teams. The original 4 spots doubled, bringing a breath of fresh air to the competition. The tournament featured 8 teams and introduced a group format for the first time. Divided into 2 groups, the winners advanced directly to the final, while the runners-up battled it out in a third-place playoff. Italy, hosting the event, hoped that Dino Zoff's team, though at the twilight of his career, could make a title bid. Euro 1980 proved a tad early for Italian success but laid the foundation for their World Cup triumph 2 years later. The defensive trio of Dino Zoff, Claudio Gentile, and Fulvio Calavati played a crucial role in Euro 1980, earning them spots in the World Cup's team of the tournament 2 years later. Despite doubts about Zoff's age, he was 38 in 1980, they persevered. The Euros have always been a stage for underdogs to challenge European football giants, and Belgium's remarkable performance in Euro 1980 perfectly exemplified this opportunity. Before the tournament, Belgium had a modest record, with just 2 wins in all their previous international competitions. Qualifying posed a challenge, especially with Portugal in their group, but under the guidance of coach Guy Thies, the team gradually built belief and cohesion, ultimately securing qualification. They arrived in Italy with a squad of relatively unknown players. The tournament failed to draw much enthusiasm from spectators and TV viewers. Attendance was generally poor except for matches involving the Italian team. The tournament format, which required a team to win their group in order to progress to the final, led to a succession of dull matches. Hooliganism, already a rising problem in the 1970s, made headlines again at the first-round match between England and Belgium, where riot police had to use tear gas, causing the match to be held up for 5 minutes in the first half. Placed in Group B alongside hosts Italy, Spain, and an England team featuring the prolific Kevin Keegan, Belgium knew they had to fight for every point. Keegan, the top scorer in the qualifiers, arrived from a European Cup final with his Hamburg side. For Belgium to dream of reaching the final, they recognized the importance of battling for points. Players like Jean-Marie Pfaff, Eric Gerrits, and Jan Selmans formed the foundation for a golden generation of Belgian football, with the renowned Enzo Schifo joining a few years later. This era marked the beginning of Belgium's rise in European football, laying the groundwork for their future successes. "We invested 6 or 7 years building that team," reflected Pfaff, later hailed by Pelé as one of the top 125 players of all time. "It was truly one of the best Belgian teams we've ever had. Prior to this, we were amateurs, possessing good players individually but lacking team synergy. Players like Selmans, Gerrits, and René van der Eycken worked hard on discipline, and it all clicked. The only bright spots were the emergence of a new generation of talented German stars such as Bernd Schuster, Hans-Peter Briegel, Horst Hrubesch, Heinz Müller and Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, and the inspirational performance of Belgium, who reached the final, only losing to West Germany by a Hrubesch goal 2 minutes before time. Greece made their major tournament debut. Spain and Italy made their first appearances since their wins in 1964 and 1968, respectively. England also qualified for the first time since 1968. Belgium qualified after missing the 1976 tournament. Yugoslavia did not qualify after hosting the previous tournament. Other notable absentees were the USSR, France, and Hungary. This was the last time until 2008 that Denmark failed to qualify. Each national team had to submit a squad of 22 players. The picture shows the best 11 at the Euro tournament held in Italy in 1980.
Most players are from Germany and Italy, while Belgium has one representative. West Germany won the final 2-1 against Belgium for their second title. This was the last European Championship, with a third-place playoff.
On the final, FAF shared. In the final, we were very happy just to be there for the first time. We worked hard for our success, our money, and our family. We played as a team and not as individuals. We had lots of heart, that was important. We certainly did not expect to get to the final. We achieved it by working for success, team spirit, and the country's identification. When we got back to Belgium, we realized everyone in the country was happy. The Belgian team had much to be proud of, sparking a sense of togetherness and belief.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Quizaroo for more football history and trivia, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. Leave a comment below on which tournament you'd like us to cover next. See you in the next